You're listening to the Good News Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tidwell, alongside my co-host,
Jordan Calendar.
And we want to thank you for tuning in. Jordan, how's your week been?
It's been good, man. Just getting used to all my classes here and whatnot, and trying to get adjusted to the syllabus, I feel like I'm still under a little bit of syllabus shock, but
yeah,
catching up.
That never goes away. For me anyway. I'm just... It all boils down to I'm a terrible planner. I bought a planner last year at the beginning of the 2018-2019 school year, and it is still in the wrapper. So so I never used it, and I just checked my syllabi to see what assignments are coming up. Actually, this morning I was doing homework, and I was like, what is going for philosophy? And I didn't have a clue what was going on, and so I checked my syllabus, and it wasn't due till next Friday. So that was a nice surprise. I was like, okay, I won't do this today.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do it, and two, I'm a procrastinator. So
I had a summary that I thought was due last Thursday, and it was on Tuesday when I had learned this. I thought it was due the Thursday that was coming up. So I was stressing, had to read the entire book and write the summary within Tuesday, Wednesday period, but I had somebody give me the blessed information that it wasn't due until the following Thursday.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
That's a lot better. One time last year during the spring semester for New Testament survey, I went to bed, and my roommate, his fiance was in my class, my New Testament class, and he said, how'd your summary go? We were laying in bed. I said, what summary? He said, you might want to check your syllabus. Tori finished hers today and says it's due tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, dang.
That's crazy.
So I checked the syllabus, and sure enough, it was due the next class period the following day. And so I just went to bed, and I woke up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and typed that thing out, 500 words. It wasn't too bad, but I didn't really want to wake up at 5, but I had to do what I had to do.
They're decently manageable. Yeah, I feel like that's something that's really been expressed since I was a student here, that my time management is not necessarily something I excel in. So
yeah, definitely. I'm awful at time management. It's like I do what I want to do, and then I do what I have to do with the little limited time that I have left from after doing what I want to do, which is not a good thing. That's something I'm working on. I want to be able to steward my time well, because ultimately we are here to learn, and even though we don't want to do our homework, it's necessary for us.
Yep. Absolutely, man.
What? All right. Jordan, you got any good news for us?
I've stumbled across a couple stories that I thought were noteworthy. So McDonald's, beautiful company.
I'm loving it.
And in Switzerland, they have started using their billboards for bee hotels to help. It's a big deal right now that we're losing bees. You know, and They pollinate everything, and they carry around. They're a huge part of the ecosystem. So McDonald's has on the back of their billboards like shelters for the honeybees, for them to live, and then they're growing bees, or not growing them, but housing bees on the back of their billboards.
Like in the back of their signs, like the M arches.
Yep,
that's so cool.
And they also, in some of the restaurants, they also have shelter up on top of their restaurants, like on the roofs of their restaurants.
For more beehives?
Yeah. And they've actually done similar things like this in the past. It's actually really cool if you look it up. There is something they created a while ago and auctioned off for about $10,000. It was a mini beehive. It was a fully operational beehive, but it was a tiny McDonald's. And it looked like a McDonald's on the inside, but it was a fully functioning beehive. And bees lived in it. Yeah. So it's funny.
That's pretty cool.
Another story I found is...
hold on. Have you ever had honey? Like, from bees?
I don't think, like, the real raw natural honey, I don't think I have.
Oh, my gosh. It's so good. There's a gentleman in my hometown that has beehives, and he sells the honey from it. and we make it a point every year to get like 4 or 5 mason jars full, and oh, it's so good. It goes good with everything. Like, we'll make some chicken fingers and just dip the chicken fingers in the honey. Man, it's so good.
Actually, you know what? I have. And I remember when I was in high school. This is a bizarre story. But this kid in my class literally pulled out a giant mason jar of honey with a spoon, took a big old scoop of it, and just offered me some raw natural honey. And I was like, okay. I was just eating honey off a spoon sitting in physics class. Like,
hey, man, you want some honey?
Yeah, pretty much, dude.
That's awesome.
Out of nowhere, but yeah.
It's so good. I don't know that I would eat it straight like that. But,
it changed my life.
But I love dipping stuff in it.
Yeah.
Like, if all else fails, if I don't have anything else, if I'm making pizza rolls and I don't have any other condiment, I'll use honey for my pizza rolls.
Okay,
it's so
fair
good.
enough. Yeah, I've had recently been put on this tip to put honey in your cold coffee. Like when you make iced coffee, put honey in that.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's actually really good too.
That's interesting.
But yeah, so honey's great.
Honey is great.
And thanks you, McDonald's, for being proactive about saving the honey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another story that I had found was about this airman, the last name of O'Brien. He was a part of the diving crew that saved the Taiwanese soccer players last year when I believe it was a cave that had collapsed on them when they were exploring, and he was one of the divers that went in to get them out. While he was on a plane to Dallas from Okinawa to collect his award for the award ceremony, there was a choking baby on the plane that he performed CPR on and saved the baby's life.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
On the way to collect an award for saving other people's lives. So
just racking them up.
Yeah, it was like a real life Superman.
I used to be certified in CPR, but thank goodness I never had the opportunity to save somebody's life. Because, I mean, I say thank goodness because there was just nobody that I was around that was dying. And
right.
I never had to use that action, but I was thankful to be certified. But it's expired, so I have to get a new one. Because you're like, you gotta be like, I'm certified to give CPR. Do you want it? Like, I mean, if they're choking,
they can't.
Obviously, they want it.
But that's kind of ironic though, because I mean, if somebody's choking, I mean, they could nod, I suppose, but like, they couldn't really respond. Yes, I was like,
please. Yeah. But it's like, even though it's expired, I still know how to do it. But if I did it, I don't know. I'm sure there would be, if the person I saved were to try to sue me, I'm sure there would be some kind of legal ramifications for that. But I have no idea. So
yeah. Well, if I'm choking, you can.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, and it's recorded now, so it's a predisposition.
Yeah.
So when I try to sue you, you can bring this up.
Trial.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So another story I found really neat. The country of Niger in Africa. The farmers there have planted more than 200 million trees in the last 3 decades.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so this has been the largest conservation act in Africa, in the entire continent. And so it's just amazing to see, that there's people being proactive. You hear a lot about the rainforest, about it being destroyed, but this is the last 3 decades. That's 30 years. They've been planting trees consistently,
I mean, and it takes a long time for trees to grow, so like 30 years, some of them are bound to be big by now.
Yeah, so it's...
Which is awesome.
It's neat to see, them just being proactive about it and wanting to help the environment.
I love, like, back home, me and my friends, we would just spend so much time out in the woods.
Where are you from again?
I'm from Alabama.
Okay, where?
Just camping.
Yeah.
Like, just out in the middle of a national forest or out in the pasture. Like, he has a pasture behind his house, and then we'd walk through the pasture to get to the woods, and we'd make our own forts and stuff. Mm-hmm. It was so cool. But just to use what the environment has given us to build our own fort, it felt really cool. Yeah. It was so cool.
Yeah.
And a tornado came through. Well, not while we were camping, but a few weeks after we had built it, a tornado came through, and after the tornado, it was still standing. So, that was like,
I should have got some sort of certificate.
We built
a
tornado-proof shelter. When in actuality, we just got really lucky.
Tornado completely missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really cool though. Yeah, I think that's my favorite part about home too, was the woods. I'm from Michigan, so we got a lot of woods there, and that's definitely my favorite part, was going to play in the woods as a kid.
That's what's so tough. Like, I love going to school here, but what's so tough for me is I feel cooped up in the middle of the city. Yeah. Just because my heart is at home, but I feel cooped up here, and sometimes I just want to get out in the middle of the woods.
Right, yeah. There's such a serenity about it. Mm-hmm.
Get out in the woods with my hammock, read the Bible, and just soak in what God's saying to me with the sound of nature. Yeah. And it's just awesome.
Yeah. I've earlier this semester I went to Mathiasen State Park with a friend. It was about 2.5 hours from here. Okay. And that was just amazing. Such a nice little getaway, and it's not too terribly far, especially for just how beautiful it was. They had this giant stone bridge over like a valley. It was just, it was incredible.
Unfortunately, the time to do that kind of stuff is running out because winter is approaching fast.
It's going to be winter wonderland before
and I ain't going outside as least as I can during winter.
Yeah. I think we got tunnels.
Absolutely. I didn't have tunnels last year.
Oh, man. So another story that I found, in regards to nature, actually, there was a man, who is now a photographer for National Geographic, and he got into this hobby to start combating his depression. And this just really took off. His photos are very, very sweet, actually. I found a bunch of them online. And it's just close-ups of insects against like brightly colored backgrounds that are just beautiful, super vibrant, and I've always kind of had like just an interest in spiders for whatever reason. I actually was going to be, that was my first major before I really started delving into education, was I wanted to be an arachnologist, I think it's called. That's cool. And go and study spiders, But
I always wanted to be Spider-Man.
Yeah. Pretty much a real life spider biologist. I think it would be sweet. But no, so he, on the National Geographic website, just kind of shares his story of how this really just saved him from his depression. He was suicidal. He attempted suicide a few times. And just by capturing pictures of insects, he was able to turn his life around, which is incredible,
phenomenal. It's something like God can use anything to help someone. Yeah. And something as small as insects to turn someone's life around. So phenomenal. What a great God.
Yeah, it is amazing to see, what God's able to do. I mean, especially, with the passions that he's given us in his heart. I'm sure this wasn't his first time picking up a camera. You know what I mean? Yeah. He had a passion for this and just directing it and getting noticed by National Geographic, and now he's shooting photos.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
So it's just amazing. Also in conservation news, wild tigers in Nepal have doubled in population in the last 9 years, which is just, it's sweet.
That's awesome.
Tigers are awesome. Yeah. And I remember being a little kid and going to the zoo and seeing next to the tiger exhibit that they were endangered. You know what I mean? They're about to be extinct. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I like cats. Why do we gotta lose them? So that was just kind of like personally heartwarming to me that they've made efforts to pay attention to the wild tiger community, and a lot of it comes from, in China they stopped the sale of ivory, and I don't know exactly how these correlate, but so the sale of ivory has dropped 90%, and that has stopped poachers in the Nepal area killing wild tigers.
That's really cool. It's just how one thing can stop.
Yeah.
It's like a chain reaction.
Yeah.
Like if they were allowed the sale of ivory, more tigers would still be getting killed.
Yeah.
But since they cut that off,
Yeah.
it's like, well, if we kill a tiger, we can't sell anything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, you never know your impact. The last story I have is 140 nations together have agreed to stop overfishing the oceans, and it's called the Paris Agreement for the Ocean,
mm-hmm.
and it's one of the largest international agreements in the last 10 years, which is just amazing to see all these nations come together to understand that we have an issue with, our oceans being underpopulated and,
right.
and contaminated and whatnot, and they're being proactive about, renewing that and helping it again, and that's something we all share in common. You know what I mean? Every continent touches an ocean, so it's cool to see that so many nations have come together to try to stop that.
Yeah. All right.
What do you got?
I have a few stories. This first one is not necessarily good news. It's just when I read it, it just cracked me up.
Fair enough.
So the title: "Woman Sparks Apartment Fire by Burning Love Letters." Interesting. In Lincoln, Nebraska. It seems this love was too hot to handle, and so a 19-year-old woman was burning love letters from her ex, and with a butane torch, and she threw one on the floor, and then she went to another room to take a nap. Like she thought that she thought that it was done burning, and she went to the next room to take a nap. She woke up to find the carpet on fire. Firefighters, they put out the fire. Nobody was hurt. They put it out within minutes. But the officials say the fire caused an estimated $4,000 worth of damage to the building. And the woman was cited for negligent burning.
Hard to imagine why he broke up with her.
Yeah. This building's on fire. Yeah.
Yeah, so...
That one cracked me up.
A butane torch. Not just she was mad, man. Yeah. Not just a normal lighter. Yeah. Yeah, and she ended up showing herself. So.
This one's really cool. Have you ever played rugby, or do you know anything about rugby?
I've never played, no.
There was a guy that went to my high school. He was obsessed with rugby, and obsessed in a good way. Like, I don't say obsessed in a negative way. Like he was obsessed, like I'm obsessed with football. But he got a group of guys from the high school together one evening in the spring just to play rugby. He taught us rugby, and we played a game, and it was really cool. And so a few weeks ago, the Rugby World Cup was held in Japan. Okay. And so there's these Samoan players. They all have tattoos.
Yeah.
And they wore sleeves, like full morph suits, to cover up their tattoos to respect the culture of Japan.
Oh, really?
And so I was like, we live in a day where people are so afraid of offending people, and that is very prevalent in America. But there's ways to, like, in this specific case, like, they were just being respectful to the host country's culture. Yeah. And one thing I've learned since I've moved here to Chicago is there's so much culture here.
Yeah.
And
very diverse.
It's so diverse, and I've learned so much about different cultures. And like if I ever went to one of these countries, I would want to be respectful too. Mm-hmm. And so I just thought that was very cool how they were like in the Samoan country, the tattoos were fine, but their head coach said, well, we're not in Samoa, so they took the prerogative to wear these morph suits to respect Japan's culture.
That's awesome.
And that was really cool.
Yeah, that is neat.
But, yeah, rugby, what a sport.
Actually, I was at a restaurant in, I believe it was Lakeview, and they had the Rugby World Cup playing, and I was like, dang. It was honestly strange to watch, because, I'm familiar with football and how that's played.
Right.
And I just remember, like, my sister or her friends, always seeing it. Like, I have no idea what's going on. I can't understand. I was like, how can you not understand it? It's super simple. That was how I felt watching rugby. I was like, what in the world?
Going on?
Yeah. So
one thing, I watched it for a spring. Like, usually during the spring, I miss football season. I'm ready for football, so I'll just try to watch something that reminds me of football. And rugby did.
Watch some giant men.
I was proactive about learning the sport, and one thing I learned is, like, in football, the players go full speed and are kind of out of control.
Yeah.
And whereas in rugby, they're more sound in their fundamental tackling because they have to be.
Okay.
Because they're not wearing pads.
Yeah.
And you could get seriously hurt. You can get seriously hurt in both sports.
Yeah.
But if you were going wild and free, as like a free safety does in rugby, you could get hurt real bad.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know much about rugby.
But that's about the extent of my knowledge of rugby.
Just be careful.
Yeah, be careful. Getting hit hurts, especially without pads.
Yeah.
The second story I have is from Indiana. As dozens of bikers visit the lemonade stand of the girl whose mother helped them 1 year ago. So basically, this group of bikers they had a wreck, and the woman drove up on the scene.
What are backers?
Bikers?
Yeah.
Like
bikers.
Motorcycle.
Yeah,
sorry.
You're too southern for me sometimes.
Southern accent coming into play. But yeah, motorcyclists. They were they had a wreck, and this woman pulled up on them, and she helped them out. And then a year later, their daughter they stayed in touch.
Yeah.
A year later, her daughter had a lemonade stand advertising the best lemonade in Indiana.
Yeah.
And they drove from Milwaukee to Indiana to come buy lemonade.
Oh, that's so cool.
For her little girl. And at the end of the story, the lady said, there were more than 30 leather-clad motorcyclists that showed up to the lemonade stand to surprise her daughter.
Wow.
It's just so cool.
You imagine just being, a kid sitting at your lemonade stand and having a whole parade of motorcycles pull up just to buy your lemonade.
When I was a kid, my dad's friend, he has long hair. He drives a motorcycle. He drove up to our house one day, and I was like 5 or 6, and me and my sister were playing outside, and we were scared. Like, he looked scary. To a 5 and 6-year-old, he looked really scary. So we ran inside. We was like, Mom, Dad, there's a man outside in our driveway. And then my dad walked outside, and he goes, oh, like they were best friends in high school.
Oh,
and
that's so funny.
So this is awkward. But the woman said, I feared for his life. This was the first time I've saw him since the day of the wreck.
Oh, wow.
And she said, not only did they make my daughter's lemonade stand unforgettable, but reuniting with these people and seeing how well they were doing was a fantastic surprise.
Yeah.
She said, my big takeaway is that I really want people to step back and understand that we can look differently, talk differently, dress differently, have different interests, but just because we are different doesn't mean that we don't share the same core values. She said it's all about respect, love, kindness, and the desire to serve others.
That's awesome.
And she doesn't say anything about Christianity or anything, but
that's really cool. I'm just like, I can't stop thinking about the little girl. Probably,
yeah.
She probably
What's
had like
going on?
She probably had like 2 pitchers of lemonade. Thinking that's all she's gonna sell, and all these people are just, oh, we gotta make more lemonade.
Mom, I need more lemonade.
Yeah, so that's cool.
And the last story I have, this one is very heartwarming, but it's really sad. I got this from the Good News Network. It's a crane operator makes heartwarming pact with a dying man who had been watching him work every day. So basically, a crane operator, they were working across from like a retirement home, and this older gentleman rolled in his wheelchair, rolled out every day to watch him work. And he thought that the old man was just wanting to get out of the house because just wanting to get some,
right,
just to be outside.
Yeah.
But every day, like after a few days, during these few days, the man stayed from the time he got there till the time he left. All day long, and ate lunch when they ate lunch.
Wow.
And so the curiosity caught the crane worker, and so he went over and talked to the man to find out that he was, it doesn't say what kind of illness he had, but he is currently like dying.
Yeah.
And he used to be a crane operator. So
really?
He said he said through this conversation I found out the older man was a crane operator, and he thought he would never be around a crane again, and he said this was just an opportunity for me to just talk to the man and show him some love.
Oh, that's so cool. I definitely think God was behind that, putting that crane nearby him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because he knows how much it would make him happy and warm his heart, Like, you don't think you're going to be by a crane again? Bam! Right behind his nursing home.
But that every day after he finished work, he went and sat for a few hours with the man just to talk. And I just that's being a servant in itself.
Yeah.
I know, like, when I get off work, I'm ready to go home.
Yeah.
I want to go home. Mm-hmm. I'm tired. I just want to go home. But this man is sacrificing time at home to be a good person.
Yeah.
Just to talk with this man who probably, we don't know if, it doesn't say if he has any family or not, but he may not ever get to talk to anybody.
Right.
And this is just an opportunity for him.
It's easy place to feel forgotten about.
Yeah.
The nursing home. Yeah.
It said that originally when they talked, they made a deal. Originally, the older man wanted to be on payroll. That's funny. But the crane operator said, we can't do that. And so, but every day the crane operator brought him coffee in the morning time and after stayed and talked with him. That's so cool. And it was good. At the end of the story, he said, I always try to enlighten someone's spirits. When God chooses to take this man home, I'm happy knowing that I've been placed here at this location to make his days better. And I'm happy with that.
That's awesome.
And it just kind of goes to show you never really know what someone's going through. Especially here in the city, we see so many people that just need someone to talk to.
Right.
I talked to a homeless man one time, and I said, you want something to eat? Like, I offered to buy him food, and he said, no, I'm fine. I just want to talk. And so we ended up talking, and he said the hardest thing for him was people walked by him and acted like he was not even there.
Yeah.
Like, he said, I just feel invisible.
Yeah.
And so that resonated with me. It's like, just because they're homeless doesn't mean they're not human. They still want interaction with humans.
Yeah.
And that just broke my heart. I was like, man. And so now I can't talk to every homeless person I see, but especially if I feel God led to talk to someone, I'll stop him.
That's good, man.
And talk to them.
We're all just a few bad decisions away from being in those shoes.
Absolutely.
Like, I feel like people realize or think, it's not as much of a reality, but like those people, it just kind of happened to them. You know what I mean? There was a series of choices that, got them to that predicament, but like ultimately it's the ball's in your court,
Yeah.
So being intentional about loving is cool.
Absolutely. Well, that's all I have for today. I would like to end every week with a Bible verse, and I have one.
Awesome.
I have one for us today. Just very simple. Everybody knows it. Actually, one more quick story. This particular Bible verse, I was preaching one time and forgot it while I was preaching. And
that's fun.
It's John 3:16.
Oh, that's a good one to forget.
When you're in the middle of a sermon, you go, John 3:16 says, and then your mind goes blank. You can see me freaking out internally, and I'm like, all right, listen, I promise I know this. That's what I told him.
You grab your Bible real quick. What does it say? That's
but, so, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. We want to thank you for tuning in and listening to this week's episode, and we hope each and every one of you have a blessed week. Thank you.